hello to those on the YouTube that might be checking out this reaction video. For me, on the EU side of things, I won't be able to see the cinematic until tomorrow. And a lot of people were like, could you make a reaction? What do you think about it? So I'm very, very curious, and we're going to check it out.
Thank you. Bane would have died without your aid.
I couldn't let that happen.
Nor could I. I refuse to fail him, like I failed his father. I wish I could change it all. Cairn, Garrosh, Theramore. Sometimes it feels like I did everything wrong.
We all have blood on our hands.
And now, Sylvanas will come. Thunder Bluff will burn. Just like Teldrassil.
Once before, you and I stood side by side on the slopes of Mount Hyjal. That world tree did not fall, because the Horde and the Alliance worked together.
Horde, Alliance. We've come to this crossroad again and again, Jaina. It always falls apart. What's different this time?
We are. I should go. Anduin will want to know that Bane is safe.
Tell your king he is not alone. We've come to...
Anybody else with me on the idea of, oh, I don't know. Anybody else joining me on the shipping? Yeah. What do I think about this? It's going to depend on what follows afterwards. Like to begin with, it does indeed seem to be Mr. Pandaria 2.0. Doesn't mean that it still has to go down that way. It doesn't mean there's going to be a Siege of Orgrimmar and take on Sylvanas as the war chief. But I think it was pretty set in stone that they were not going to keep Sylvanas around as war chief much longer, not after Teldrassil, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be Mob 2.0. But it does indeed look like the Alliance and Horde teaming up again against the badass war chief. And that's going down. So what do I mean by it's going to depend on what happens next? You can check out an old video of mine, which is about the ending of Siege of Orgrimmar, where Varian turns around and he's like, if your horde fails to uphold honor like Garrosh has, then we will end you. And that was a cool ending. It was a pretty badass ending, but it was incredibly stupid considering what happened next, which was the Horde and Alliance fight each other again. And again, and again, and again. Because for some reason they have it in their mind that there has to be a faction conflict. Thankfully in Legion, they stepped away from that a fair bit. And it was more about the order halls and it was more about the threats against the world. I was personally a bigger fan of that. But then with Battle for Azeroth, they turned around and they were like, look, we're going to reignite this faction war. We're just going to do it all over again. And maybe a lot of people out there really enjoy that storyline. Maybe a lot of people really hope to see that faction war reignite. I wouldn't have been against it if maybe the Alliance could have been the aggressor in that one. That wasn't the case either. So yeah, it's all going to depend on how will this play out. Like, will we see a team up of the Alliance and the Horde, and will it then finally stick? And I really wonder if they will. But for the cinematic itself, yeah, I don't hate it. Not really. I like that Thrall and Jaina are talking again. It's a nice continuation of, like, in the novel War Crimes, where they put Garrus on trial, which takes place before Warlords of Draenor. Jaina nearly dies, right? And everybody tries to heal her. And in the end, it's Chi-Ji, the Red Crane, that actually brings her back. And they were like, well, maybe more than just her body was healed. Maybe also her soul could get some healing now. And we never saw a continuation of that in-game. She was a bit more mellow, but she was also all over the place. Right? At Khadgar's Tower, she was like, don't work together with the Horde. You will get your fingers burned. Even though in War Crimes, she was seemingly more towards healing and more towards opening up to work with the Horde. And now we see a return of that again. Thrall and Jaina. Of course, the what they mentioned about we stood together at the slopes of Hyjal. That is, of course, Warcraft 3, where the Alliance and Horde teamed up against Archimonde and the Burning Legion, and they prevented that world tree from burning down. It did kind of explode. So, you know, I just remembered the tree actually exploded. They didn't actually save the tree. What the fuck? That tree is still healing. But anyways, the world was saved. That was more to the point. Like, we saved the world by working together. Ow. Ow. Don't laugh too much. Sylvanas will come now. Thunderbluff will burn. This is also something that we saw when Bane brought Derek back to Jaina. She was like, she will kill you for this, and she might not stop with you. That is something that they reiterating here. Reiterating, yes, that's a word now. That was the wish that caused the burning. Yeah, it was part of the plan. Don't get me wrong, it was part of the plan. But, you know, she said that world tree didn't burn down. No, it exploded. But, you know, whatever. We saved the tree. Distant kaboom in the background. And besides, yeah, it's just nice to see Thrall and Jaina again. I like them more when they're on friendly terms. And there has been a big path of progression for both these characters. We saw Thrall from being the war chief to putting down the armor to becoming Uber Shaman Goel and saving the world with the aspects, to then have a family and be bought back by Saurfang. Or Sylvanas' assassins for some reason. Whereas Jaina, of course, had the whole working together with the Horde, bombing of Fedamore. Does she hate the Horde? Does she not hate the Horde? To her journey in Legion, where she took on the demons by herself. And now, seemingly willing to work together with the Horde. And this is also something that you will see throughout 8.2. Factions coming together again. Yeah. Go to Saurfang's last line again. That the king will not stand alone, you mean?
Anduin will want to know that Bane is safe.
Tell your king he is not alone.
Yeah, and that also has to do with Anduin setting Saurfang free in the Lost Honor cinematic that you can find on YouTube. Saurfang, during Battle for Azeroth, he was not down with the burning of Teldrassil. He still stood with the Horde for the sake of the Horde during the whole Siege of Lordaeron, or Battle for the Undercity, or whatever you want to call it. During that battle, he could not stand what Sylvanas was doing. It was too ruthless, so he decided to find his death in battle. Anduin didn't take it. Anduin instead imprisoned him because he had heard stories about Saurfang from his father. And whilst in prison in that cinematic, Anduin is like, look, why did you not kill me? Because in the... And that's something that I only found out later, is in the very first cinematic, where you have like Jaina and Anduin and Sylvanas fighting each other at Lordaeron. You actually see Saurfang strike at Anduin, but he strikes with like the blunt of his weapon. And Anduin asks him, like, why didn't you kill me? And Saurfang tells him, like, I hope that you could stop her. To which Anduin is like, well, not alone. And then he opens the door, and then Saurfang's journey begins, where he escapes the Horde, goes through the Dark Portal, and he finds Thrall in Outland again. What are the 3 lies of the Boy King? Uncertain, but I personally, if I had to make a guess. I would say that they are not necessarily outright lies. My apologies. I've been streaming for 4 or 5 hours. My speech is getting blurry. I wouldn't say that they are necessarily lies like twirling mustache, muhuha, and putting the factions against one another. I think that they are things that Anduin believes to be true, but turn out not to be true. Perhaps something in the direction of Sylvanas is beyond saving, or insert anything here. Misconceptions, yeah. Now that is, of course, my own personal take on it. For all I know, he is truly corrupted by the old gods, and a patch later will find like a massive eye on his face is always a possibility. But I think it's more on a more subtle level, like things that he believes are true, which are in the end not. Shaw gets left behind with them. Aw, poor Shaw. For those that have, of course, not seen the war campaign quite yet, Bane is placed in shackles because he helped Derek escape Sylvanas. We then show up to save Bane. Both sides do so, and that is when we bring him out. Now, thankfully, tomorrow I should be able to see the war campaign for myself. The entirety of it, or at least on the Alliance side. I'm going to get cracking on actually getting that done on the Horde side as well. So that will be real soon.